Do you think that he was a little bit too aggressive as a person, or is it just a case of people being frustrated with a guy who's willing to stick up for himself?
I think that he just he believed in what he believed in, man. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and he'd been promised a lot coming to the WWF,
Yes.
and for reasons unbeknownst to me, but I'm sure it has something to do with his inability to get up and down. Him and Hogan never had their run. I had heard that he'd been promised a long run with Hogan if he would ditch his contract with Japan and come to WWF.
Yep. Now, Brown has it in a shoot interview that apparently Hogan had like heard somewhere along the way that Brown had been paid in New Japan to break Hogan's arm or something like that, and I think that made Hogan withdraw from any idea of having a rivalry with him. Brown, of course, is like,
Oh,
nobody fucking paid me to break Hogan's arm.
yeah,
Um,
I don't believe that.
I don't buy it either. But as you said, Vince McMahon promised him a WWF championship run when he brought Brown into the WWF in
Yeah,
1988. Allegedly, Vince even told him that he'd be able to retire young after his run with the company. Did you see him as a guy who could have carried the WWF championship despite his injuries?
it could have been done.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been done. Uh, it would have taken a lot of work, you know, and the people that worked with him would have had to do the same thing I did, you know, take care of it. But it could have worked.
And we're talking about 1988 through 1990 was his run with the WWF.
Yeah,
He would have been the first African American world champion ever
yeah,
before Ron Simmons, a couple of years before
right.
Ron Simmons would have. And so yeah, it's I don't know. I think that the wrestling world was certainly ready for it, and he seemed like he had all the tools.
He would have been the guy to do it with because he had the background to back it up with. He'd been a badass, you know.
Yeah. And Vince would famously bring in guys like Kurt Angle and other legitimate athletes, quote unquote, and this guy had a bronze star in the 1976 Summer
Yeah,
Olympics. Like, you
yeah.
don't get much more legit than the Olympics.
No, you don't. They don't hand those things out just to anybody.